I'm by no means qualified to talk about those things, but who is qualified? So here are my 2 cents out of some research, and I did a long chat GPT over here with tons of information. Let me start with the diagram though first. This is the diagram of neurodiversity, and there are different things on the menu that you can pick and match. And let's start with a simple idea. 80 years ago, this map was not there. It was not probably necessary. So the world was just fine with all those things being undiagnosed. It was perfectly fine. But as the world became more intolerant and people started thinking about what is good and what is bad in very specific ways, I think that there was a necessity to label ourselves with several of those things in order to defend who we are and how we function. And of course, this is a little bit extreme, but again, 80 years ago, there was no such thing like all those things you see here, and the world was just fine. Right now, you can have dyslexia, ADHD, some autism spectrum disorder, or be somewhere in the spectrum. And this means pretty much, I am like that, I think in this specific way, I function in this way. And that's all right, because I have been potentially diagnosed with one of those things, and potentially I'm working on it by taking some measures or some treatments or something. So I kind of acknowledge that there is a better way of being, but in order to do that, I have to work. And so, yeah, this is an aspect, I think, of this whole neurodiversity, which is very real. So people are not the same. People have different, way of thinking and functioning. But for a vast majority of cases, which are not very extreme, all those things might be diagnosed or partially diagnosed or diagnosed at some point, and then the symptoms disappear. And yeah, things are not that clear-cut as, for example, if you have a broken leg, you definitely have a broken leg. One very interesting movie is this, Temple Grandin, which shows autism, and it shows it both as a strength and a weakness. It's a totally fascinating movie if you want to understand what's going on with the labels, the reality, and neurodiversity in general. This is certainly a case of extreme autism, but also highly functional. And that's not uncommon, I think. But people who are on the spectrum may have symptoms that are very common, like social difficulties, whatever that means, sensory sensitivities, so maybe loud sounds annoy someone, and things like that. This is interesting, repetitive behaviors, and you can see some of that in that movie. And you can see here severity of those symptoms, level 1, level 2, level 3. So this is why I guess this is a spectrum. And maybe there is level 0, which means you have some of those symptoms, but okay, you deal with them well, and it's part of who you are, but it doesn't even require support. So Asperger's is part of ASD right now, so part of the spectrum, and you can see now. So pretty much this is gone from the industry. It's done. It doesn't exist anymore. It's part DSM-5 code of spectrum disorder, basically. Difference between high functioning autism and the autism spectrum. It's easy to see that basically if there is a little bit of social, let's say, awkwardness, you can be called pretty much a high functioning autistic person, and that's fine. That's a label. Now ADHD and dyslexia, both of those cause problems obviously at school. And now you can see the symptoms there. Difficult sustaining attention, forgetfulness, and all those things. If you have your notifications on your mobile and you consume lots of sugar and maybe you have irregular sleep, there is no way you will not have some of those symptoms or all of those symptoms. So I would say that you really need, instead of just a diagnosis, to have probably a healthy lifestyle and then be able to be properly diagnosed with ADHD if you are based on the symptoms. There are other ways to be diagnosed, like with EEG. I would say many people probably in the US are diagnosed and even treated for ADHD without having a good lifestyle. And that's an industry here, lots of money to be made. And of course, this goes to other countries as well. Slowly, it becomes a trend in Europe, I would say. Now, dyslexia is very much not being unable to focus or being bored with boring stuff, but it's more about reading and basically stuff that we need for school. And myself, I could probably be diagnosed with dyslexia. I was unable to put accents on letters and all sorts of problems, but then I started using Microsoft Word and I was so pissed off by Word underlining my mistakes, and so I started remembering stuff. So I don't know, maybe some of the symptoms can be easily be mitigated with work. I know I have friends that it would be impossible for them to improve their writing, and of course there is a spectrum in dyslexia as well. One important thing about all those things is that there is a very large co-occurrence, so people with ADHD might also have dyslexia, and that's fine. So lots of information about that. I also find this Healthy Gamer website very, very interesting, and the guy here speaks in a way that is very nice and very to the point. I have watched many of his videos. He has lots of interesting information, and he's a doctor, so potentially he knows more what he's talking about than me. But again, all those things are pretty new. They're unfortunately heavily industrialized. So, probably in 40 years, we will know what of this is just a trend, it's just marketing, and what is super real. There is no question that when you have extreme symptoms, there is a need for a label so one can get help. But beyond that, in all the more mild cases, it's very important for all of us to have a healthy lifestyle, to do things that we find interesting, to be motivated, not depressed, and also to be able to manage our focus, have a quiet environment, drink lots of water, get good nutrition, and all those things that might help mitigate problems, because bad lifestyle can cause symptoms that overlap with neurodiversity very easily. That's my 2 cents. Thanks for watching.